as I do every day, praying the Tridentine Mass, and there it says, we pray for, and it puts the letter N there for the name. There's only one Pope you're called to pray for. Even those who might disagree with me on this point, they ask me, what is the one name that you use? The point is, there can't be two names in that position. And that's been taught by the Universal Church from day one to the present day. It's the ordinary universal magisterium, very clearly. So we have some confusion there, which is explained, as I mentioned at Mass, by the third secret, the part that we haven't got. And that's why I think, first of all, you all have a right by your baptism, confirmation is great, but just by your baptism, you have the right from God to ask the Pope for a ruling. I'm not making this up. You can again find it. I could give you the designated number, but not tonight. But I can tell you where to find it. It's found in the Second Council of Lyon in 1274, and it's again found in the First Vatican Council. It's defined twice. That the faithful have the right to seek a ruling from the Pope in matters pertaining to ecclesiastical jurisdiction. So when I say the word right, I'm using the word strictly speaking. It's not something that's invented. It's given by God in order for you to carry out your responsibilities. So to save your soul today, we have the right, and I believe the responsibility, therefore, to ask for the full text of the third secret. Because in that text, we have Sister Lucy telling us, or more exactly, the sisters revealing to us for the first time some of her secret writings that have never been revealed before, in which it is described the grace she had on January the 3rd, 1944. This January 3rd, 44, just to give you some context, she has been given an order in October, that's 2 to 3 months before, and she's been trying to obey this order to write down the secret. And she can't bring herself to do it. And she's been trying for 3 months. She would take every day, she'd take her pad of paper, and she'd go up to the attic, get some quiet, and she would sit down to write, and she couldn't do it. Now that's pretty bad when you can't do that for 3 months, but that's what she couldn't do. So she's in the chapel in her convent, and she's telling our Lord, I will do whatever you want with regard to this. So Our Lady tells her to write down the vision, but not the explanation. So on January the 3rd, we have the text, which was published by the Vatican in 2000. The date on it, if you look for it, it's right there, January 3rd. She writes down the vision, but no explanation. But she doesn't write to the bishop on that day. She writes to the bishop 6 days later on January the 9th. And she says on January the 9th, I have now completed the task you gave me to write down the secret. So she wrote a second document which gives the explanation sometime after January the 3rd. And she didn't write on the first one because Our Lady told her not to write on the first one. Now in that vision, you see, Our Lady, she describes what she sees. We saw at the beginning of she starts speaking, you read it again for yourself, we saw a bishop dressed in white. Now, you've never been to India, maybe most of you, but I've been there, and every bishop in India dresses in white. So it's not just a bishop dressed in white, but it's a bishop dressed in white which made them think he was the Pope. Now, I can tell you the bishops dressed in white in India don't make you think they're the Pope. They're holy men or the good men, but no one thinks of them as a Pope. But in this vision, Lucy said, we thought he was the Pope. So here's a bishop dressed in white in their vision that gives the impression of being the Pope. Now, why does she say we thought he was the Pope? That's her way of describing what she saw. But it's not her way of saying that he was the Pope. Later on in the same description, she talks about the Holy Father being shot at and killed by arrows and bullets. The Holy Father is the Holy Father. The bishop dressed in white is not the Holy Father, but he looks like him. So there's this impression now created by the fact that Benedict, when he resigned, and it's there in his description, and Professor Violi, a canonist from Modena and Bologna, before the resignation took effect, if anything took effect, on February 27, 2012, he says very clearly, and you can read it for yourself, Benedict in his resignation says, I am not resigning the munus, M-U-N-U-S. That means in Latin it's the office. Yet canon law, I think it's 332, if I got it correct. I can find it for you. If I don't have it here, I most likely don't, I can send it to you. 332, which says, if a pope were to resign, he must resign the munus. So here you have canon law saying, to resign, you must resign the munus. And here you have Pope Benedict saying, I'm not resigning the munus. Now to me, that's a principle that there's a contradiction here. If you're resigning, you have to resign the munus, but he's saying, I'm not resigning the munus. So whatever he's doing, he wasn't resigning the papacy. That's the mystery which will be explained by the secret, and you have a right to ask for the secret, the rest of the text, that we know exists.